VMware vSAN Specialist V25V0-22.23 exam updated dumps are valuable for you to study all the related topics. Share some updated VMware 5V0-22.23 exam dumps here. 1. A vSAN administrator needs to find the metrics for objects containing data served up by the vSAN ISCSI service. On which level should the vSAN administrator look? A. Cluster, B. Virtual machine, C. vCenter server, D. vSAN ISCSI object. 2. A currently deployed vSAN cluster must deliver persistent storage to be used by vSphere with Tanzu. The administrator needs to properly configure the vSAN direct configuration for this solution. Which 3 steps should be taken? Choose 3. A. Configure vSAN file services for vSAN direct. B. Assign the storage policy to the container VMs. C. Create a storage policy for vSAN direct. D. Create a vSAN storage policy with FTT equals 0. E. Assign the storage policy to the namespace. F. Claim unused disks for vSAN direct. 3. A host in the cluster experiences a permanent NIC failure, and the replacement part will not arrive until the next morning. The administrator needs to ensure the availability of the production workload at all times. Which step should be taken by the administrator to meet this goal? A. Shut down the production VMs. B. Perform a live vMotion to another host. C. Disable the vSAN service on the VM kernel port. D. Enter maintenance mode with full data migration. 4. A vSAN administrator has been tasked with troubleshooting an application in a hybrid vSAN environment. The application is I/O intensive, and the magnetic capacity devices may be playing a role in slow performance, so the administrator decides to take action to help resolve the problem. Which action should the administrator take? A. Change the default storage policy to have stripe width of 13. B. Modify the stripe width for the application on the advanced settings for the VM. C. Add more magnetic capacity devices in the affected host. D. Increase the stripe width based on the number of capacity devices within the disk group. 5. Which 2 storage policy changes result in a component resync? Choose 2. A. Changing object space reservation to 100. B. Changing the failure tolerance method. C. Disabling object checksum from checksum enabled. D. Adding an IOPS limit rule to a storage policy. E. Enabling object checksum from checksum disabled. 6. A vSAN architect is using the vSAN sizer to build an all-flash vSAN cluster for an accounting company. The architect is trying to determine why 12 TBs are set aside for system overhead and is reviewing the items that are included in the overhead capacity. Which 2 items are included? Choose 2. A. VM swap overhead. B. Encryption overhead. C. Disk format overhead. D. Host upgrade overhead. E. File system overhead. 7. A vSAN administrator observes that the VMware Skyline Health disk format version reports a format version that is lower than the expected version. What does this status mean? A. The vSAN administrator must enable encryption for the vSAN data store. B. The vSAN administrator must perform an immediate upgrade of the on-disk format. C. A vSAN on-disk format upgrade is recommended. D. Deduplication and compression must be disabled for the vSAN data store. 8. A new vSAN cluster with 4 hosts has to be designed for a single-site architecture. Which design decision is correct? A. All the data must remain accessible even with 2 host failures. B. Configure the storage controllers to use RAID. C. Use block-based storage for the new vSAN cluster. D. Only hardware listed on the VMware compatibility guide will be deployed. 9. Which 2 actions are recommended when adding a host to a vSAN cluster? Choose 2. A. Disable vSphere High Availability (HA). B. Create uniformly configured hosts. C. Reference the VMware compatibility guide. D. Disable vSphere Cluster Services (VCLS). E. Disable vSAN Performance Service. 10. What does enabling vSAN operations reserve help ensure? A. Stores vSphere HA heartbeats. B. Reconfigures data components. C. Reserves space in case of single host failure. D. Allocates capacity for VCLS.